Of Inside Black and Gold. With us is Dane Mizutani from Inside Purple and Gold. We're basically brother podcasts here, dueling on the field in week 4 and, hooking up here on the Odyssey podcast app. A lot of it was made about the Saints arriving here in London on Monday, but this Vikings team decided that they would wait and just arrived on Thursday, figuring they've got this acclimation thing down. And I know the first day I got here, I ended up sleeping 10 hours. I feel like I caught up, though. It wasn't that huge of a deal. Maybe the time difference gets blown a little bit out of a proportion. But what was really the thinking or talk behind Minnesota deciding to go later in the week?
Yeah, basically, so we talked to their director of player health and performance. It's a weird title. His name is Tyler Williams. We talked to him on Wednesday. He basically described it like the Vikings are trying to operate on Central Time the whole week when they fly to London, when they're in London, when they're playing the game, and then operate in Central Time back. They never want to acclimate to London time, basically. Okay. So the goal is like not to ever fully acclimate to London time, because then you have to reacclimate to Central Time, and that could screw up your week 5 preparation. So they're really just trying to like thread a needle here. And I don't know if it's going to work. But there was like a lot of thought that went into this. And like, it wasn't just some like cockamamie idea they just like came up with on the fly. Like listening to them talk about, this decision, like I felt skeptical, but going into the conversation, but like, I kind of believe that like, at least it was rooted in some sort of sports science. The only issue is like, if you're operating on Central Time, it's like 8:30 in the morning when you play on Sunday. So like,
yeah, exactly.
Right. So yeah, that's my question is like, so you just never reset your watch, right? And so you go to bed at the same time you would if it was, here. So you're going to bed at local time would be, so you go to bed at 10 o'clock locally, you're going to bed at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I don't totally get it. I think there's some flaws to just saying like you're going to operate fully on Central. I think I think more so they're just saying like their body's going to really be able to adapt quickly, like to like that 2.5 day stretch that they're there. They don't even leave till actually Thursday night. So they get in Friday morning, and their goal is basically just to like, honestly, like he talked a lot about melatonin. Like, I think they're just going to gobble up a bunch of melatonin on the plane, try and sleep through and be like, all right, it's morning, let's roll. Like melatonin and caffeine are like what they are literally operating on with the Vikings this week.
So if the Vikings look like zombies on the field, we will know why, because they're trying to wake up at 8 because that's the thing. If it was a night kickoff in London and the game was a noon start,
sure,
I think you could sell this to me a little better than it's an 8:30 a.m. start Central Time. So that's a weird, like if that was a game here, I would be like, that's a bad idea. Like teams don't adjust like that. So that's strange to me. I didn't realize that's what they were doing. As we record this podcast, it's Thursday afternoon, so they haven't left yet.
No, I think their wheels up at 7 p.m. Thursday, and I think they arrive in London at like, I don't even know the time change. I think probably like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. With like the flight and the time change. I don't know. It might work. It might not. There's a chance they have egg on their face on Sunday when they just look really, really sluggish. But I think the thought was like, let's not hurt our week 4 prep and our week 5 prep. Let's just try and deal with this weird time change now, and then try and get right back our clocks, into Central Time as they prepare for the week 5.
Right. It almost sounds like they're planning ahead for week 5, as opposed like this is a weird analogy. When I was running cross country in high school, there was this one school that we were like, we're not going to beat that team. They are insanely good and we're bad. So we're going to train through this meet. We're not going to get a rest day going into it because we're going to lose anyway. So we just train through it and we're like, we're going to worry about Montville because they suck and we might beat them. Is that like what we're talking about here? Because I don't think they're giving up this game, but it kind of feels like it's like we're not going to sacrifice 2 weeks for, maybe an extra chance to win this week.
Yeah, I think their goal is like to sacrifice neither week, but it does seem like inherently they're by their decision making potentially sacrificing this week. I would argue like they play the Bears in week 5. Like you should have just gone to London. And if you were a little tired for week 5, you probably still beat the Bears. So like, but yeah, I don't know. Like it's something that's definitely going to be talked about on Sunday.
Yeah,
if it works, they're going to be geniuses. If it doesn't and they lose, they're going to be like, well, of course they did. How did they think they were going to adapt to this time change so quickly? I also think it's funny, like me and my co-host Jace Frederick on our podcast just talked about this today. Like normal people just go on vacation and they figure it out. Like, these are athletes in like tip-top shape. Like maybe we'll give them some credit. They could probably acclimate in a day and play a football game. But we'll see. Like they definitely leave themselves a lot of room for criticism if this decision ultimately does not work out.
What's interesting too is they don't even get a break from the media tomorrow. It's like, bam, I guess they're landing, and they do have access here, practice and media access tomorrow. So we'll see if that melatonin's hit the coaches and the players in their press conferences.
Yeah, it's a lot of caffeine, a lot of cups of coffee. I think that we'll keep them going.
Get some Jolt Cola. Even I don't know if they even make that anymore.
Some Surge, yeah, some Four Loko. Okay, moving on.